much. Coming up, our next guest says the 9/11 attacks were an inside job. He also claims that the entire 9/11 Commission report is a lie, and that there is no evidence that any hijackers boarded the planes.
Despite his views, the University of Wisconsin hired him to teach a class on Islam's culture and religion. We're now joined by Associate Lecturer Kevin Barrett from Madison, Wisconsin. Professor Barrett, don't your students expect that you would teach them both sides of the story, both your theory that this was an inside job and all the evidence that shows it was perpetrated by 19 hijackers?
Well, I'm not interested in teaching theories of 9/11. It's an Intro to Islam course, and this idea that it's all about 9/11 is a complete mistake. But actually, if it comes up in class, I think the students really ought to get a variety of viewpoints, and the first thing they need are three big questions. And I'd like to ask you and your viewers these questions. This is the who, what, where questions, basic to journalism. Who was acting commander-in-chief that day? What happened to Building 7? And where were the fighter jets? Those are the key questions of 9/11, and if you or anyone else can answer them, I would like to hear the answers.
Here's my question. As a parent who will have a child going to college, the University of Wisconsin has hired you to teach Islam, religion, and culture. Your master's is in English and French literature, and your PhD is in African language and literature. What qualifies you to have opinions that I guess you would pass off as a knowledgeable professor?
Well, I've been doing some pretty serious research on the 9/11 attacks for more than 2.5 years. I've read dozens of books, over hundreds of articles. I'm a member of the scientific panel investigating 9/11, or SPINE. I'm a member of Scholars for 9/11 Truth. That's st911.org.
Professor,
do your 9/11 Truth. st911.org. Go there and take a look at all the academic work that is showing the world that the 9/11 attacks were not what we've been told.
Do your students also study the 9/11 report and the massive amount of material that the Commission assembled in support of what most of the world believes was evidence that 19 hijackers perpetrated this?
If I were teaching a course on 9/11, they certainly would, but I'm not. But if we were doing that course, I would have the students look at what the 9/11 commissioners just told us yesterday. They just told us that they saw that the military was lying about its three completely crazy stories about why the fighter jets never showed up. And they just put this out yesterday. Washington Post story. Let me read this to you guys.
Let me ask you a really simple question about a comment that you've made. You say no hijackers were on board the plane. You say that no hijackers boarded a plane. Now, how do you say that and reconcile it with the list of the passengers, with the security video showing that they did get on board the planes?
Well, what I've seen are basically two security videos. One of Mohammed Atta supposedly boarding at that airport in Portland, Maine. Now, why he was making a tight connection to Boston in order to hijack a plane in Boston, flying to the Trade Center, doesn't make sense.
There are eyewitnesses that he got on the plane, Professor.
The tape was of Washington's Dulles Airport, and that tape didn't come out for over 2 years after the event. And guess what? The shadows are wrong for the time of day, so that tape is a fake.
And the eyewitnesses?
Well, I don't know about the eyewitnesses. What I know is the passenger manifests clearly show that there's not a single
How about calls from the passengers on the planes? How about calls from the passengers on the planes before the planes went down? How can you gainsay that?
There's media outlets in this country, and there's not a single Arab name on any of the passenger manifests.
What about all the passengers' phone calls?
Well, there's an excellent study at the Scientific Panel for Investigating 9/11 by Key Dewdney. You can go to 911research.net, and it shows that there could not have been a single phone call. Well, maybe one could have gotten through, but the idea that all these phone calls miraculously got through from over 30,000 feet is completely ridiculous scientifically.
Kevin Barrett, thank you very much for joining us. And parents sending your children to the University of Wisconsin, that's what you get for your money. Thank you.